Hey now, it's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. Canada has a rich tradition of pro wrestling that includes many famous stars and some major events. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments honors Canada Day by looking at one of wrestling's most colossal events, a WWF production that set a live attendance record and showed just how popular wrestling was at the time. Before we get started though, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. The WWF struck gold when it booked a card in a city full of rabid wrestling fans at an outdoor arena headlined by Hulk Hogan taking on an opponent that he had a white-hot feud with. The event broke attendance records, but if you're thinking of WrestleMania III, you're off by about a year. The card in question was the big event, the WWF's 1986 Summer Spectacular that was held at Toronto's Exhibition Stadium. Toronto has always been a major hub for professional wrestling. For over 50 years, the promotion Maple Leaf Wrestling held some of the biggest shows seen in both the United States and Canada, with top talent coming in from various promotions. Promoter Frank Tunney had an eye both for talent and booking, running the successful promotion alongside his nephew, John Jack Tunney, who helped him. Maple Leaf Wrestling in its home-based venue, Maple Leaf Gardens, featured many historic matches. The National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship changed hands in the promotion, including wins by Dick Hutton, Whipper Billy Watson, Lou Thez, and Harley Race. Bruno Sammartino also established himself as a main eventer in Maple Leaf Wrestling before Vince McMahon Sr. brought him back to the WWF, crowning him as the promotion's champion. After Frank Tunney passed away, his nephew Jack Tunney took the reins, promoting shows just as his uncle did. However, the wrestling world was changing, and Jack, who had continued his uncle's talent sharing arrangement with Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, aka Jim Crockett Promotions, sensed the winds of change. Mid-Atlantic was sending him less talent as it battled with the World Wrestling Federation, and it affected business. According to Titan Sinking author James Dixon, the Tunneys had started working with George Scott and Jim Crockett and were aligned with the NWA. The crowds had dropped from 15,000 to around 3,000, with no signs of improvement. In a bold move, Tunney aligned with the WWF. According to the site Maple Leaf Wrestling, there was no buyout of Maple Leaf Wrestling. Instead, a new Maple Leaf Wrestling was formed, with the WWF having 50% ownership, Tunney Sports having 33% ownership, and George Scott having 16.6% ownership. As noted in Titan Sinking, a lucrative deal that would give him, Tunney, a percentage of every house show that the company, the WWF, ran in Canada. Tunney in turn helped McMahon squash the other local territories in the country, playing a large role in helping him dominate the wrestling scene north of the border. Business picked up thanks to the new arrangement, and things were looking good. The exact nature of how the card ended up at the CNE remains up in the air. The main story is that the CNE management asked Tunney to run a WWF show at the stadium, feeling it would be a good fit. However, Hulk Hogan claims the WWF booked the show at Exhibition Stadium only because Maple Leaf Gardens was unavailable. As we've seen in the video Hulk Hogan's Tall Tales, the Hulkster's vivid imagination often conflicts with reality. However, the WWF was running shows every month at the Gardens, a sign of how popular the promotion was. Despite the WWF's popularity and Toronto's reputation for being a wrestling hotbed, few, if any, people imagined what would happen on August 28, 1986. A stadium show typically costs more to run, which makes it essential to ensure strong ticket sales. The WWF had run stadium shows before, as had other promotions, but this one turned into something fantastic. In 1986, Hulk Hogan was feuding with Paul Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, a program that was making money hand over fist. As detailed in the book, Wrestling's Greatest Moments, before long, it was clear to everyone that ticket sales were going to be phenomenal. The combination of the main event, affordable ticket prices, and heavy promotion by the Molson Canadian Brewery were credited for the wrestling attendance record set by the 64,000 fans who packed the CNE. Tickets were affordably priced. In a 2006 article, Slam Wrestling's Greg Oliver looked back at the show, noting, "The top ticket price was $20, t-shirts were $12. Translated into 2023 dollars, this would mean fans would pay roughly $46.13 today for the best seat in the house." Quite the deal for a show of this magnitude, and what a show it turned out to be. The main event of Hogan vs. Orndorff was just one of 11 matches that night, and the event would enter the record books, only to be broken the next year when Hogan vs. Andre broke a new attendance record at WrestleMania III. The undercard included a variety of must-see matches, several involving some wild feuds. For example, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat battled arch foe Jake the Snake Roberts in a snake pit match. Strongman Billy Jack Haynes and Hercules Hernandez did battle, and the Machines and Captain Lou Albano battled Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. See our video 5 masked wrestlers who weren't fooling anyone for more details on the machine. The event was a spectacular success. Although it's always difficult to gauge actual attendance records thanks to promoters' penchant for puffing up attendance figures, it's believed that the event set an outdoor attendance record. According to the website Pro Wrestling History, 64,100 fans attended the show, bringing in an $800,000 gate. Other figures indicate 74,000 people attended. In his first memoir, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster would recall what he experienced that night. "We made it a title match so there would be an additional reason for people to come see us in Toronto, but we didn't expect much. Then, on August 28, 1986, I got out of the car to walk into the CNE Center and got blown the hell away. Instead of 10,000 people in the place, there is almost 65,000. There was no denying the show was packed. In fact, there are even questions about whether the size of the crowd violated any fire codes. Things went off without a hitch in that department, although as we'll see, the show had some other technical problems, allowing fans to see the main event match. The Hogan vs. Orndorff match ended in disqualification after Mr. Wonderful's manager Bobby the Brain Heenan ran in and hit Hogan with a wooden stool, just as Hogan was ready to pile drive Paul Orndorff into the mat. There was far too much life left in the feud to end the match with a conclusive finish. Indeed, the feud would continue for months, culminating in steel cage matches around the country, including one on Saturday night's main event. The big event was a magical night for fans. The show wasn't a pay-per-view. The WWF only ran one pay-per-view in 1986, but it could have been. The WWF did release a VHS copy of the show on its popular Coliseum video series, editing it down to run on one VHS cassette. Fans witnessed a dynamite show, and the big event had plenty of favorable media coverage. The big event likely was encouraging to Vince McMahon, whose second edition of WrestleMania II seemed to stumble compared to the first. Everything had fallen into place at the big event. Well, almost everything. Although the show created many memories, not all of them were pleasant, particularly for the fans who bought tickets, only to find out that these seats didn't exist. According to a Slam Wrestling article, it turns out that last-minute additions of giant video screens and the cameras forced many seats to be relocated, if they existed at all. The 70 or so rows at ringside were forced to stand for most of the event. Fans threw chairs, ice cubes, and other items. That wasn't the only snag. Despite the show airing in August, temperatures were close to freezing. This wasn't a surprise to fans familiar with Exhibition Stadium. The Baseball and Canadian Football League venue was nicknamed the Mistake by the Lake for several reasons. One of them for its close proximity to Lake Ontario, which made for chilly temperatures. On at least one occasion, snow covered the field during the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team's opening day game. While the fans who had found their tickets had vanished faster than Outback Jack's push were undoubtedly incensed, the majority of the fans got to see an all-star card that captured the intensity of both Hulkamania and professional wrestling. The big event is still talked about by fans who attended the blockbuster card. Toronto was no one-hit wonder when it came to staging major cards. Fast forward to 1990 and the city hosted WrestleMania III at the recently completed Skydome. Once again, Hulk Hogan headlined the show, this time defending his WWF Championship against Intercontinental Champion The Ultimate Warrior. Hogan was less successful here though, dropping the belt to the Warrior. On the other hand, the show was another success, setting an attendance record for Skydome, although the record was subsequently broken. What do you think of the WWF's Colossal Canadian card? Did you attend the show or remember watching it on VHS? Share your thoughts in the comment section and let us know if there's any videos you'd like wrestling's greatest moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and spread the good news about wrestling's greatest moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.